Question: is it necessary to go to psychologists to work through traumas? Or are the tools given by the Ascended Masters sufficient? It's just very hard to find spiritual psychologists. Nowadays, psychologists are mostly materialists. Yes, I totally understand that dilemma. Obviously, most psychologists look at life from a materialistic viewpoint. And that means they find it difficult to deal with people to have a spiritual outlook on life because they don't understand how we think. And they might even tend to think that we are superstitious or it's unreal what we believe. And so how can they really help us if they don't respect our beliefs? But I think it is possible to find psychologists or other therapists who, even if they don't share our beliefs, they're at least respectful of the fact that we have beliefs. Because I think there are some psychologists that are so professional that they can say, well, it isn't my role to change the person's belief system or worldview. It is my role to help the patient look at specific traumas, specific issues in his or her psychology. So I think if you approach it from this perspective, it'll be easier. Now, is it necessary or are the teachings of the Masters sufficient? Well, this is a question that can only be answered individually. And in order to really answer it for you, you have to be aware that there's two tendencies that you can see in the world, in spiritual movements. I've seen this in my first and second spiritual movement. I felt the temptation myself for many years. When you are a spiritual guru or teacher, you want to believe that your teaching is sufficient and can help people. And when you are a spiritual student who finds a spiritual movement or teacher, you want to believe that what that movement offers is sufficient to get you to the goal, whatever your goal is. Now, I don't subscribe to that. As I said, for the first years I was a messenger, I was tempted, really tempted to hope and believe that this could be enough. But I've given it up because I realized that people are so individual that you can't really give a general guideline. But I have also realized that regardless of the teachings and the tools that the Masters have given, it can be very helpful to talk to somebody else about things. And as I've described in several videos, back in the early 1990s, I had a long period where I went into therapy and experimented with various therapies. And I was fortunate to find a licensed psychologist who was also had a spiritual outlook on life. So I understand that if you can't find that, it's more difficult. But nevertheless, I benefited from that. But throughout the years, I have also talked to many people about various issues in my psychology and the teachings of the Masters and this and that. You know, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal therapy session. But engaging with other people and talking things through, especially if you can find somebody who is open to just talking about this neutrally and who isn't trying to save you or change you, can be invaluable because you get that different perspective on it. And so I would put it this way, that I think you will always, no matter what level of the path you're on, you can benefit from talking to other people. It doesn't have to be in a formal therapy session, but certainly talking to other people. And that's one of the things you can do when we have a physical conference. Like we just had one a month ago in Estonia, and I try to make myself available whenever there's a break to talk to people. People can come and talk to me and ask questions. And sometimes I can help people see something they haven't seen. And I know that during such a conference, people talk to each other and they help each other see things that they can't see. So I think it's always helpful to interact with other people. On the other hand, it's clear that the masters have given some tools that can be very effective, but it kind of depends a little bit on how aware you are of yourself, how willing you are to look at yourself and see something in yourself. And I have met people who have used the tools, been very diligent about using the tools, and they haven't really broken through. And when I talk to them a little more closely, it's usually because there's something they haven't seen in themselves. And this is the subtlety of the ego or the separate selves, you know, that we have maybe had a separate self for many lifetimes. And it's become so ingrained, we take it for granted that, well, this is the only way to look at life. And we just can't see that there are other ways, and that this is a limited way. We can't see how it limits us. So I would say that for many people, the tools given by the masters will not be enough. You need to interact with others. If nothing else, you need to be in situations where other people are pushing your buttons, so you can see, why am I reacting this way all the time? But you can also come to a point where you have established some connection, inner connection to the masters, and then they can give you many directions from within. I would say for myself, you know, going way back, I have had this certain connection to the masters where they have given me insights on my own psychology. But I have still benefited, of course, from interacting with other people and also therapy. So for me, it's not either or, you know. And I think for most people, the answer to the question will not be yes or no. It won't be either or. It'll be that the most effective way is to have both. If you can find a therapist, by all means, take advantage of it. But definitely interact with other people and try to find somebody you can talk to about these kind of issues in your psychology. And then, of course, try to open yourself up to asking your ascended masters for help and being neutral about receiving an answer.